Okay, so in this video, I just want to do a couple problems on kind of clearing out and understanding really intuitively what the difference between monopsony and perfect competition for inputs is. So the whole big thing is, this is the big difference. We're talking about the input market. And so the input that we've been working with this entire time, and kind of the most common one, and the one that all the research has been done about, is labor. So all I want to know is this firm, based on these graphs, a monopsony, or is it in perfect competition for labor? And then how many units of labor should it hire, and what wage rate will it pay? So the way that you tell, and I'm going to encourage you to pause right here and kind of work this through yourself before you hear my answer, but after this point you're going to hear my answer. So here's my answer. The wage rate is constant. The supply of labor is a flat line, and the marginal factor cost of labor is a flat line. And this is all just equal to the wage rate. So I could just put right here, this is equal to W. So we know that it is facing perfect competition for inputs because it does not face an upward sloping supply of labor curve. It does not have a line that looks like that. So it's going to pay the wage rate. It's going to pay, this looks like it's 20, in between 20 and 30, so we'll say $25. So it's going to pay $25 because it has no power to tell its employees that it'll pay it anything else. If it says, I'm going to pay you less, then all the employees are just going to go to another company. And if it says that it's going to pay them more, then it will, you'll see why later, but it won't be able to do that. And actually, you know what, you may not see why later, but the idea is that it wants to pay its employees as little as possible, so there's no real reason to pay them more than you need to, because you can get an infinite amount of workers for just $25. So that's as much as I'm going to go into that. So then how many units of labor should it hire? Well, it should hire up until the point that those workers can't make enough revenue for them to earn their salary, basically. So every single worker can, all of these workers right here, this guy and all of these laborers up here, they contribute more to the bottom line. They make more cash for the company, than they cost the company. So you're obviously going to hire them. And this goes all the way down to here. And so this is the last unit of labor that you will hire. And so that is where the marginal revenue product is equal to, of labor, is equal to the marginal factor cost of labor, which is equal to the supply of labor, which is equal to the wage rate. So lots of things are all equal at once. And so here we go down and we get that that looks like about 4.5 units of labor. So these could be man hours, these could be employees. You could hire 4 full-time employees and 1 part-time employee. The units really don't matter. It's just understanding the graph that really makes a big difference. Okay, so now I just want to show you another graph, and I want you to be able to make the exact same, answer the exact same questions. So looking at this graph, what is this, a monopsonist, or is this a perfectly competitive input market? So after this you're going to get my answer, so pause it, get your answer, and then understand why, and then I'm going to give you my answer right now. So my answer is, this is a monopsonist, it's a monopsony, because it has an upward sloping supply line, which means that it has power in the labor market. And what I mean by that is that if it wants to hire more workers, it's going to have to pay them more. And the only kind of firms that if they want to hire more workers, they're going to have to pay them more, those firms have to be hiring a ton of workers, because those workers have to have nowhere else to go, basically. There has to be no other competition. So we know that it's a monopsonist, and we know that it's going to produce, well, I should clarify one thing. Just because it faces an upward sloping labor supply curve There are other situations where you could have like 3 or 4 companies and they all might face an upward sloping labor supply curve, but the only one you're going to learn about in an introductory course is a monopsony, where there's just one. Alright, so that's just to kind of clear my conscience that I'm not telling you something that's wrong or giving you bad information. So in this course, the only firms that are going to face an upward sloping labor supply curve are a monopsony, but there are other market structures where you could have like 2 or 3 employers, and they might also face an upward sloping labor supply curve. Alright, so monopsony produces where the marginal revenue product of labor is equal to the marginal factor cost of labor. So we have the marginal factor cost of labor in red, and we have the marginal revenue product of labor in blue. So you put those two together, and we find where they're equal, and that's right here, and that's at just barely past 4. So we'll say that they will hire like 4.1 units of labor, and then they are going to pay, the monopsony is going to pay whatever it has to pay to get that many units of labor. So it's going to go down here, and it's going to pay, that looks just about exactly like 20. So we'll say maybe $21. So we are going down to the supply line at the quantity that is determined where the marginal revenue product is equal to the marginal factor cost. So again, we're finding where this is true, and then we're going down to the supply line to find our wage rate. And so they will pay, we'll say $21 in wages. So that's it.